Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Weaver from Palo Alto University. And I wanted to make this quick video to share some information about our forensic area of emphasis, primarily for folks looking at PAU as a potential option for your PhD. So I'm the director of our forensic area of emphasis and have been for going on 11 years now. And it's similarly structured to how it was before I came, but we've also made some improvements over the time. But this is very much my baby and something that I've been very interested in. So I know about all of the levels of it and the successes and challenges that we've had. I want to share some of that stuff with you here. One of the things I want to do just quickly is to give us an orientation. So I want to go down through in a specific order here, and I want to touch on the courses that we have in the area of emphasis. And then I want to hit on what it means to kind of get started or get into the area of emphasis, talk about the research work, dissertation work and research labs that are available to you as a member of the area of emphasis. I want to talk about our certificate of completion that we have and what that does and doesn't mean for you. I want to specifically talk on a topic of blending multiple areas of emphasis as I go down through here today. And then I'll wrap up with some questions that Dr. Faneuf and I field a lot about the AOE. So most PAU AOEs, and we are certainly the same, are built around a core set of courses. And our core courses are 5. The first one in the forensic sequence is cleverly named Forensic 1. And that's a survey of topics and a lot of emphasis on case law. We will sometimes get folks who come in from other programs and they will have had similar sounding courses and they'll ask for things like course transfer and things. And what we'll fairly frequently see is that our emphasis on case law is very high, very heavy, or probably bordering on excessive, some folks would say. One of the kind of driving factors for how the program is set up and structured has always been to minimize barriers for you as a forensic professional once you get out. And there are 2 primary ways that we look to do that, one of which all of you have to go through, and one of which only some of you would even choose to go through. So the one that all of you have to go through is preparation for a successful time at internship and postdoc. And then the one that we hope as many of you as possible will opt to do would be seeking a forensic board certification for those of you who want to do forensic clinical work, at least. And these courses are set up, the entire sequence is set up to really facilitate you being able to do that. Now is the time to remove those barriers for you so that when you're a busy new professional and the work that you do is paying your bills and putting food on your table, you don't also have the other barriers and burdens. And our focus on case law is one of, if not the kind of shining example of that. That's a really burdensome thing to catch up on as a new career professional out there practicing and earning your own money. So we do it now. The second class, and it's a couple of the classes here kind of are a little bit mixed up and not terribly well named. What you're seeing is the vestigial names that we've worked with over the years so as to not really change the catalogs here, but they don't necessarily flow as well as Forensic 1 being the first class. One of our middle classes here is Advanced Legal Ethical Psych. It's a class I'm actually prepping for the spring. It's not a class that we've ever taught online before, but with the current goings on, we're prepping it to be able to teach online, and that's going to go absolutely fine, and we'll be set up to do that. In that class, what we do is really try to hone and push students on their formal legal logic and argumentation skills. And the setup to do this is the entire class long, we do a series of topical debates. So we may, if anybody knows Lincoln Douglas style debates, that's the structure and style of how we go through the class. So it'll be debate teams. The teams will be graded by me and the rest of the class, and there will be winners for all of the debates. We may have a topical item like resolved, sex offender community notification serves a greater good, or something like that. Or death penalty laws are fair and just, and we'll debate that over the course of the day. Students have to prep both sides of the argument, be able to come in with both scientific literature and legal cases, link those together, form them into an argument that's logically sound, attack the logical soundness and the science and the law of the opposing side, and you can kind of see where this is going. It's almost like a little bit of an entree. Well, it's very much an entree into adversarial system, and that's going to culminate somewhere that you probably can anticipate. But before that, we have our forensic assessment class. So this is our class advanced legal ethical is kind of my baby, and I have made this and I'm very proud of it, and it's very good. Forensic assessment is that for Dr. Phaneuf. She, when she came in, really gutted this forensic assessment class, has completely retooled it. It is absolutely on point with her specialization and skills, and students leave with a very deep, it's going to sound funny to say this, but it's a deep introduction to forensic specific testing and report writing. And by introduction, I mean really very sound grounding to go out there and start doing this, really mostly at the internship and postdoc level. We have a rotating forensic seminar. Rotating is not quite the right word, but it's a special topical seminar. It flits around from topic to topic. I've done the last two of these. I did those on psychopathy and PTSD, and then we just did one in the spring on threat assessment consultation. So these are fun topical classes where folks get a lot out of that. It's some of the highest, the threat assessment class is one of the highest rated classes I've ever done, just because these are topics that usually the instructor really loves what they're doing. So they're really good at it, and the students don't sign up for this if they're not really interested in it. So it's just good chemistry. And we have those rotating. And those are an interesting thing that will come in later when we talk about blending. And then the fifth class is titled Forensic 2, again with those vestigial names there. And this is informally our capstone class. And it culminates in a really high intensity exam in the form of a mock trial. And this is again orchestrated and coordinated and run by Dr. Phaneuf. So students will work on an assessment starting in forensic assessment through into forensic 2. They'll be honing an assessment and prepping it for trial. And they will actually go up. We've historically been able to go up to a courtroom in San Francisco. Some of our alums are JD PhDs, and they will serve as the judge and attorneys, and they will grill, they'll examine, cross-examine, voir dire all of the students. And the key here is that it's intense. It is fun. Everyone really, really likes it, and it is intense. And that's intense in kind of a public, in front of your people kind of way. That is there a little bit in the advanced legal ethical debates class. But we work you towards that. But if you could see yourself, 3 years down the road doing that class, it would look pretty imposing. But we will get you there in our classes. And more importantly, you'll be there by the time you go out and start doing them for real in internship, postdoc, and beyond. Okay, so how is it that you get started into the area of emphasis? And again, as with the course design and things, there was a driving ethos really behind this structure as well. So it's going to seem unstructured, and it is, but purposefully so. So the really driving issue for us, and it was wanted, PAU wanted it to be this way when I came in, and this absolutely fit with my understanding and my still to this day feelings about forensic psychology as a topic, is that this topic needs to be available to as many people in our program as possible. So we did not want the program to be exclusionary. We wanted everybody to be able to come in. I would love if everyone at PAU was required to have Forensic 1. There are about 8 of us who would love if everyone was required to have our intro class, so we can't do that. And I'm pretty sure that I'm right and all of them are wrong. They are similarly sure on their end, so we don't do that. But what we do is we have it set up to where everybody can come in, and what that looks like is a bit of a permeable area of emphasis, and it is, and it should be. So to get in, you come in, you take Forensic 1. You cannot fail Forensic 1, so you have to pass Forensic 1. But if you do, voila, there you are. You're in the area of emphasis. And we very much don't treat it like a separate place from this. Philosophically, there are really old, I think, good reasons why we think about forensic psychology not as being as opposed to clinical psychology. It's on top of clinical psychology. So you have to be, I think, an above average to really good clinical psychologist, on top of which you can then heap forensic psychology. But that's our process. One of the things that you'll see, and this will pop up as one of our requirements, and all of the notion of requirements now is kind of getting caveated because of the fluidity and permeability of the area of emphasis. You can come and go in and out of it, really by your design. That's what we're trying to empower, is you to be the professional that you want to be and to build that here. And that being said, there are really kind of two primary ways to do a research lab here in the forensic area of emphasis. And the first and most obvious is with the formal forensic labs, and that's essentially boils down to Dr. Fanup and myself. And you can read about our labs on our web pages. I really encourage you to be talking to our students about how the labs are going and what the topics are. As faculty, we probably feel the topical movements and things much less than the students do. So get connected with students if you can, and get the lowdown from them, and then understand that the overarching kind of driving notion of the lab is probably some nice amalgamation or combination of the two approaches, or two descriptions of how the lab works. And then the other way that a lot of forensic students have their success is that they'll come and do work with labs that don't see themselves as forensic labs. A couple of them that are very popular are Dr. Ha's substance abuse lab, Dr. Brown's PTSD lab. Dr. Bonger has a lab that focuses on a number of different related topics. And folks go and do very, very well working in those other labs. If it ever happens, and it does, that one of the other faculty is less comfortable or familiar with forensic topics, they will very commonly come to Dr. Fanup or myself and say, how do we make this forensic? How do we add this in? And we've never had a problem accommodating a student in another lab for doing forensic focused research. There are a couple of things that you just have to be aware of, but we also have seminars and things early on in the process where we're talking about these exact very things. You know, so I got into this research lab, how do I stay forensic? And we'll coach you through that. Again, all under the rubric of we want to be as flexible as possible so that you can build the forensic you that you want to. Okay, so all of this being said, we do have a certificate of completion, and the driving notion, background, ethos behind having a certificate of completion is we wanted to make things hard. We wanted to have an end result that was very difficult, challenging, fun, but challenging to achieve. And we wanted it to not necessarily have a lot of negative impact if you didn't get this, because that would hurt our permeability goal. So the way that we have it set up is this. So if you do these things, in the end, you get a certificate of completion. And we'll talk in a little bit here about what it is that does and really doesn't mean. So to get the certificate, you have to take and pass all of the area of emphasis classes with a higher than minimum average. So PAU will require you to have a class considered passing. It has to be a B-, and we want you to be doing way higher than that. We don't want to put forensic psychologists out there who got B- in all of their forensic classes. And you'll note the asterisk there, and I'll come back around to this. That is going to come back in when we talk about blending areas of emphasis. In addition to the forensic classes, though, and in keeping with the core spirit of being an above average, amazing clinical psychologist, first and foremost, you have to maintain a higher than minimum average in the core clinical and research courses. So it's not uncommon at all for many of us and many of you to really want to de-emphasize things like your stats classes. And if we are really keeping with the ethos of what it means to be a PhD and a strong PhD before we kind of anoint you to formally add on the forensic stuff, that means really not doing an average job on those core clinical and research courses, so we track that. You have to conduct forensic relevant research for your dissertation, and again, that's more flexible than it sounds because there are topics and homes and data and projects to be had at almost any, if not any, research lab that's here at PAU. And then around the time of graduation, which is probably way far from your focus or minds right now, you'll apply for this certificate and say, hey, I did all these things, and I want my little piece of paper that goes up on the wall and says that I did. Now, before I get into kind of the FAQs that I know some of that stuff is going to be burning already for you, let me throw this one additional thing out there. And it's this notion of blending multiple AOEs. And, you know, confession up front, I myself, I didn't have this opportunity. These areas of emphasis that we have at PAU is a real significant strength of our program. I don't know the degree to which the other programs may do this, but it would mean a lot to be able to come in and go in such deep focus into a topic area that you liked. I did not have that chance. Most of us didn't. I had a forensic class, that was it. And we were very lucky to have had that. Not everyone had those things. And had I gone to PAU under a structure like we have now, I actually would probably be somebody who blended forensic and trauma areas of emphasis. So this notion of being able to blend these things is very dear to my heart. That's been very positive for my career. I highly recommend doing that if you want to. If you don't want to do that and you just want to super deep dive into one thing, that's also fantastic and awesome. And again, in the spirit of making you be the best you that you can be. I do want to start out from, you know, literally before you come here and say, I would encourage and I am here actively working to encourage folks to take classes across multiple AOEs if they want to. So I'm not recommending that as the way to go. I'm recommending it as a way that we want to facilitate you go. There are multiple areas of emphasis that formally acknowledge courses as kind of satisfying each other. And this is something that we pioneered here in coordination with the diversity and community mental health area of emphasis run by Dr. Chu, and what are hopefully obvious reasons. I can't imagine a class that I think DCMH people need more than our forensic class. And I can't imagine too many classes that our forensic folks should have other than community mental health and diversity courses. So that's just one of the places where we started to do that. And that's now spread to where this practice that I'm going to talk about here is really kind of shared among most, if not all, of the areas of emphasis, actually. What we basically do there is, if you remember back up into the list of courses, there's a course that is the seminar course, right? And that's where I've done my PTSD psychopathy and my threat assessment courses. And one of the ways that we're trying to help students, if they want to blend multiple areas of emphasis, is if you want to go and take any of the other intro courses from any other area of emphasis, and you can explain to me how it is that that is going to make you the best forensic psychologist that you can, I will count that as your seminar, checking off your seminar for forensic. So if you wanted to blend forensic and DCMH, you would go in, you'd take forensic one, Dr. Chu would count that as your seminar for DCMH. You'd then go take their first DCMH class, and we would count that as the seminar there. So you get to double dip those things. It's just a way to minimize the additional work that you have to do for those who want to blend the areas of emphasis. What this means, though, is that there's still additional work. So you still have to go above and beyond what's required for the PhD, but it brings it down to about 2 classes extra in most cases. So don't hold me to that, but just heads up for those of you who are thinking about that, that's what it's looking like. And so a question that we will be asking you when you're telling us early on that you think you want to blend these is, are you sure that that's worth it? You know, here's the extra work to do that. Are you sure that that's going to give you that much more boost in your work? Okay, so moving into what Dr. Faniff and I know are some frequently asked questions, and here's the biggest one that will bring some of these things together, is what will this certificate of completion for the forensic area of emphasis do for my career? Or I'll sometimes hear this as, well, what if I don't get the certificate? Or what if I dropped my GPA below and I'm not going to get the certificate? Or can I still get the certificate? And the answer is that you can't still get it. The certificate says that you did all the things. So if you don't do all the things, we're not going to give you a piece of paper that says you did. But what that means is it has value. It's very difficult and challenging to get that certificate. When you do, it's value. It has value. It has intrinsic value. It doesn't have a lot of external value. It will not change your career. If 2 job applicants go up from PAU and one says, I finished the area of emphasis formally, and the other one says, I did all the courses, but I did all this awesome stuff during a national crisis and dropped the letter grade in one of my classes while providing emergency mental health services for quarantined patients in a hospital. No one's going to say like, well, sorry, we got to go with the person who has their certificate. So that is not something that's going to change your career. It's in keeping with our principle of inclusivity. It's designed to not be that, while still being something that for those of us in the club, you know, we know that that means something that you kind of strive for that and hit that achievement. So it doesn't change things. And what this does is it really loosens and opens up and makes flexible what this area of emphasis does and doesn't mean to you. It doesn't change your identity because it comes at the end. It means that if you start into DCMH and forensic and you realize that life happens and those extra 2 courses aren't something that you want to do, then you don't do them and your life doesn't change for the negative. The positive changes that we see in folks come from the content and the going through the courses, but it's not from the certificate. Where do students do their clinical work? Yeah, so we see this a lot. And it's one of the things that if you're not from the San Francisco Bay Area, it's hard to appreciate if you've never been here. I'm not from here. I didn't train here. I'm not even a Californian. So what I didn't understand before coming here and really being here for a while is the incredible diversity and need and seriousness and levels of acuity that are out there in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that's very broad once we're talking about our practicum sites, that you will have an opportunity to work with. I was told by my DCT every year, go here, this is where you are for the next year. And I smiled and said, thank you, and went and did the best job I could. And here it's this, it would be an overwhelming array and smorgasbord of opportunities if there weren't a lot of structures in there. And there are not only a lot of structures, those structures were largely built by people who were PAU people. So you will hear in, I'm sure, all of our materials about an office called OPAD. And OPAD are the folks who run both the practicum experience for you as a PAU student, and then also the internship application process for you there. I don't know what their presentations look like, but if you leave with anything less than amazement at the possible opportunities for clinical training that you have, you've missed something. So listen to those folks. They are a huge component of your time here, and you'll get to do a lot of different stuff. To be more concrete about it, we've had a number of different placements over the years, and they've included San Quentin Prison, San Francisco County Jails, San Mateo Forensic Mental Health Centers, forensic centers in the South Bay down in San Jose, the state prisons in Salinas and historically Vacaville and other places. So lots and lots of stuff. And in addition to that, many places where there are justice involved populations that you haven't even probably heard of. Goodwill, Hope, places like that that are community nonprofits. Remember the DCMH connection. And students doing very forensic work or forensic relevant work in settings like that. And then kind of add on to this is the where do folks go for internships. So this is, again, one of those things that's probably not necessarily inside your level of awareness right now as you freak out thinking about applying to and getting into grad school. But once you get here and all of that is settled, we will start to freak you out about getting into internships and postdocs, and that will become a thing that you're very much focused on. And long story short, we have as much success as I could ever ask for in terms of getting folks into internships and postdocs, and we'll still keep pushing for more and more. We absolutely send our students to a wide range of forensic internships and postdocs following them, but they absolutely include the absolute best internships and postdocs. Not that there's like a defined list of the best or anything, but if you can name a fantastic forensic internship, we are at least sending folks there for interviews and probably sending folks there for placements. Placements in the last few years have included FCI Butner, probably dating myself calling them FCIs here, FCI Butner, FMC Springfield. This most recent batch of folks is going to Atascadero State Hospital. We've sent folks to Napa. Postdocs, we send folks to postdocs and internship. We send folks to St. Elizabeth's, UMass, you name it. We really are sending folks there. And what happens when folks go there is we'll always be checking in with them, and they will call, and all of them 100% have said, I feel really prepared, or at least as prepared as the folks who came from anywhere else. I don't know if you ever feel prepared for an internship like that. That's the point, but the preparation feels commensurate with the other colleagues coming in. So that is our external benchmark of how good a job we are doing in our program. It's critically important to us, probably outside of your awareness, but just know you will not be limited by Palo Alto University for the internships and postdocs that you can achieve. And then any other relevant opportunities. So there are just a number of different things. Take some time, search up Palo Alto University and Concept, and that will pull up our CE adult education program system, heavily involved in Division 41 and in Division 18, two really important APA divisions for forensic and relevant work, related work, and just know that that is here. It's thriving. We have summer institutes coming up. If you look up the summer institute, you'll see the folks that come and talk routinely here. We'll oftentimes get them for student-only activities and things like that. There's an active forensic mental health student group who puts on talks and seminars and workshops and brown bags and things. So there are opportunities to participate in that and opportunities to participate in the things they put on. So there are a lot of different opportunities and things to do. Multiple students every year go to multiple relevant conferences. A bunch of folks just came back from APLS. I had from my lab alone, I think we had 6 or 7 of the students and former students presenting at APLS, and I know that's a common kind of number for Dr. Fanup too. So lots and lots of opportunities. The forensic psychology is really kind of in the blood of a lot of the folks who are here at PAU, and that's only going to get stronger and better as the years go by. And any plans to change any of this? The answer is probably not. So this is probably what things are pretty much going to look like. There have been some calls for areas of emphasis to kind of relax things a little bit in the interest of letting students not be so hemmed in by the requirements of the area of emphasis. we really operated with that permeable model for years, so I don't really see that changing anything. For us, we could probably stand a good professional kind of audit of our system. It's been a while since we did that. I would expect a lot of affirmation of what we're doing as being good. I would expect some cool new ideas to come up, but those aren't really anything that you would feel. This is alive and well and strong. It's always been among the strongest areas of emphasis at Palo Alto University, and always had among the best internship match rates of any of the groups here, all of which are strong. So yeah, we have a recipe that's working really well, and it's only going to get added to a little bit better incrementally, but it's already going to be here. So yeah, in summary, there's a lot of forensic coursework and fieldwork available here at PAU. We have difficult and challenging courses set up to gear towards your internship and postdoc success, and really have it so that if you decide to get forensic board certification, that the barriers between you and doing that are as minimal as possible. And we have just about near complete flexibility for you to do as much or as little as you like, and to blend these multiple AOEs with additional work, should you choose to try to set your career up that way as you're here to be able to do it. Specifically, given that I'm doing this in March of 2020, I want to spend a couple minutes just in case anybody's worried. Well, what would change with this? Under shelter-in-place kind of orders and things like this. I'm going to give a quick caveat that on sources of information. What I'm talking about here is just my thinking on the topic, because I want you to have that and know it. Anything that you hear officially through PAU channels will be more up to date. It will be more official. And it will be more important to understand what they are saying is going to happen for these things as we go through. But in addition to that, here are my thinkings on it. Essentially, impact on courses should be fairly minimal. The coursework in person is better for most of the classes. It's importantly better for a couple of the classes. It's importantly better for advanced legal ethical, for the debates. And it's importantly better for the mock trial class, of course. And those two courses are coming up, and we're going to move them to online. We're certainly set up to do that infrastructure-wise. All of us are comfortable teaching online when we need to. Most of us have all taught fully online courses before. So the impact on courses is really going to be minimal. And we will still look forward to the day in which we're back doing these things in person. But we are far exceeding any expectations of accreditation or anything like that, to where we will be very comfortably producing forensic psychologists, even if we were under extended shelter-in-place orders around the country. The impact on clinical services and training is interesting and complex, and I don't think anybody knows that yet. Again, that's a place where the best answers will be coming from OPAD and from PAU officially. What we do suspect, or really kind of know, is that any impact that our students are experiencing will be felt across the country. So the impacts that you folks have on them, if any, will be something that changes the applications, say for internship, for every applicant in that applicant pool. What folks are looking at right now is there are some sites that are temporarily closed, so students aren't logging hours, and that's going to be absolutely ubiquitous across the entire applicant pool when those folks come and go. Then a similar issue with impact on research, with the exception that most of us actually have make heavy leverage and use of online platforms to conduct our research anyway. Almost none of my research is going to need any tweaking whatsoever. We just wrapped up a big in-person segment of our research that would have been mildly inconvenient to shift to online, but the plan all along was to keep the subsequent segments of that online anyway. So there'll be some impact on research. Both for the clinical and the research implications, though, those are really going to hit what will be your cohorts, not for, well, your cohorts won't hit those needs for another 18 to 24 months. So if everyone's hoping at this point, and again in March 2020, that this really isn't even necessarily in our conversation anymore by the time these things hit you guys. And with that, I'll say thank you. Thanks for checking this out. You can always shoot me an email, and I will do my absolute best to try to get back to you with any questions. You do not have to do any of that. That does not change your application status or anything in any way to do so. And do try to make a connection with some of the students, ask their questions. They are largely an authority on these things. And yeah, I hope to see you in the fall. Good luck out there.